you need a vaccine. Do you go with a genetically engineered material vaccine, or do you go with a traditional vaccine? One is Russian, one is American. If you take a vaccine, which one will you take? Put the comment below. A lot of people would like to think that they can live life without vaccines. In fact, vaccines came along due to a lot of suffering and a lot of death. And doctors and scientists, they've developed different vaccines to improve life. Smallpox, dubbed the Spanish flu, 1918, they worked hard and they created a solution, a vaccine that would stop the spread of this. 50 million people died in that time. It's a lot of people. Different vaccines have helped throughout history. Black Death is another name of a pandemic that was going on, another 50 million people. What else was there? There was AIDS. AIDS came along, HIV, and 35 million people died directly because of this. As near as 2018, in Africa, malaria wreaked havoc. 220 people were infected. 405,000 people died. Sadly, 60% of that 400,000 people were children under the age of 5. So sad. Now, vaccines have a purpose. They really do. The difficulty with vaccines is they're expensive to make. With money, they're expensive, and with human lives, they're expensive, because sometimes they don't get them right. And when they test them and they go through the process, sometimes they don't go the way they're supposed to. Now, we all hope that they're going to, because this is the last thing anybody obviously needs in their life, is complications from an injection. Now, there's a couple companies that have created a vaccine for COVID. COVID is upon us. It's around us. It's really uncomfortable. COVID, the main problem with COVID is clearly that we catch it so easily. We understand that there is an airborne particle that comes out, and this is so easily captured. This is what we understand. Now, we're wearing masks. This helps. I have done actually mask fit tests. It's a class that you take, and when you put on a mask, it shows you exactly how. Now, the conditions were different than COVID. The conditions were the atmosphere that one would be in, whether you're a firefighter or whether you're working in some sort of industrial site, where the gases around you or the smoke or whatever, if it gets in there, you will be very sick and or die. So you need the mask to be tight around the nose and so on. If it's not, it doesn't work. If you just got it sitting on the top of your face, and I'm guilty of this, if you put the mask on top of the face like this, and this is all opened up over here, you're really not doing anything. Might as well just take it off. Now, that said, keep it like that, because if you don't, people will complain. Security people at different places, they'll stop you. If you're going to wear a mask, wear a mask. That's the right way to do it. I've seen images. I've not been to the hospital, but I've seen images of doctors and other support staff, nurses, and I'm telling you, they've cut into their skin with these masks. They're putting them tight, because if they're not tight, they don't work. Back to where I'm going here. There's a company by the name of Pfizer, as well as Moderna. They both created a product. Now, Pfizer, P-F-I-Z-E-R, Pfizer, the P is silent, anyway, that's what they call themselves. These two companies have created they have created a vaccine through genetically modified materials. What does that mean? They have modified stuff to create a vaccine that will fight against the coronavirus in somebody's body. Now, genetically engineered material have never been approved by FDA or any organization anywhere in the world to be used in humans. Human consumption, human injection, whatever. It's never been done. Now, of course, in a pandemic, we do things. We do things because we have a pandemic. People are dying. Different things are going on. If you just step back one little bit, yes, people are dying. Again, I shared some numbers earlier, 50 million. We're not there. We're far from it. And we never want to be there, for sure. We do have to get a handle on this. But a genetically engineered material being inserted into humans has never been approved anywhere. Two other companies, one Russian, they created a Sputnik 5. Another one is out of Oxford. Now they've created a vaccine that follows the traditional way of creating vaccines, where they take a germ and it's damaged so much so that it can't actually give you the virus, but it goes into your system and it creates an immune system to prevent you from catching it. This is the way that they did it for years and years and years with all of the vaccines. It is tried and true technology that has worked. Now that said, the genetically engineered material may be a great idea, but for some reason it's never been approved. Now it's being approved. It's being approved because we're in a pandemic and they want to stop this thing. I get that. But the cost of these vaccines, it's not just money, it's human lives. And we don't really know where it's going to go. So Pfizer and Moderna, they've created theirs. Now theirs, again, genetically engineered material, where the Sputnik 5 and the Oxford one, they are referred to as a live vaccine, where they take a live germ and they damage him so he's not so wild, and they tone him down and he goes through and you build an immune system. So we understand how that works. There's one other type of vaccine. It's called an inactive germ. It's actually a dead germ, and that works in some cases. It obviously they've looked at it extensively, and it won't work for the coronavirus. So there's no need to even speak about that. Now, we understand that everybody is in this for money. You know, when the pandemic started in March, well, for me, where I am located, in March of 2020, masks came out, and masks got real expensive real fast. I heard where in Canada, the Canadian government, they needed masks. They have a certain amount, but they need more. And they got 10 million masks in, and they failed the test. You know, like there's so many people out there that want to make a buck at this thing. And, you know, they bought 10 million masks and they were rubbish. Now, again, I go back to the vaccine, and wow, what an opportunity. Can you imagine if you can genetically engineer a material and you can make billions of these doses? You know, I found that one on the black web for $1,350 US. That's the Pfizer one. Can you imagine? Now, that's a lot of money. Now, that said, COVID can kill you. The Sputnik 5, what I read, is around 12 American dollars. That's a big spread. So in the company of Pfizer, everybody wants to make money. The CEO, he made their announcements that they've got a solution, and it's wonderful. Well, he flipped out a lot of his stocks. I don't know if they're all of them, but he brought in a cool 5.6 million. Another executive on his same team, she sold 44,000 shares, and she's at about $1.8 million profit. I'm not against people making profit, but it's really interesting. Moderna, that company, they made a huge hype about the fact that they've got a solution, and they made too much of a hype. In fact, they're under investigation now. So anyway, we understand with the masks, a lot of people tried and made money, and here we are with vaccines. A very similar thing is going on. So when you go in and get a vaccine, here's what they're looking for. They're looking for you to have a fairly clean bill of health. So I'm told you book your appointment, you go in. The first 10 minutes, you're going to be examined. Blood pressure, diabetes, things like this. you have to pass. Apparently giving it to somebody with some conditions is not a good idea. Now, once you pass that, they've got to bring the injection to the room where you're going to be injected. It can't just be sitting there. There's a problem. Actually, the Russian one, the Sputnik 5, as well as the Oxford one, is not too difficult. It needs to be kept at -18. Now, how cold is -18? If you live in northern Canada, you clearly understand this, but if you live anywhere much farther south or in other parts of the globe, you don't really know how cold that is. But -18. Now, they say that the best freezer to keep your food frozen in the freezer, the very best optimal temperature is -18. Interesting. So freezers range from -15 to -20. That's where they range. And again, the best temperature is -18. So for that specific vaccine, those two vaccines, -18 is the best. So that is doable. We have in container systems and transportation, we have methods to keep ice cream or meat at -18. So keeping a vaccine at -18 is not too much more difficult. It's got some challenges, but it's fairly doable. There's already freezers in the locations that will be that'll currently give vaccines, but this vaccine will be added to their list. They may need to get another freezer, but that's all fairly doable. Now, Pfizer and Moderna, they have a different temperature. Their temperature is -70 degrees. So, -70. This is cold. The normal freezers don't go that cold. They just don't. So they're looking at ways to move this stuff around the world. Thus, the price is so much higher. I've heard that they're going to use a thing that resembles a pizza box, where they've got dry ice in the bottom, dry ice in the top, and apparently it will keep it at -70. This is just a very, very difficult thing. And you're going to move this around the world. Again, I've got some questions about it. I certainly don't know all the answers. But -70, and again, one of the numbers I saw, 1,350 American dollars. Now, it's just a little interesting. There's no doubt about it. Now, vaccine. Now, how does all of these vaccines, they have agreed that every one of them will require that you take the vaccine, and 21 days later, you take another vaccine. So if you don't have time for that, you only have time for one injection, save your time, save your money, don't take it, it won't work. You need the two. Once the two are done, apparently 6 weeks after that, you will have immunization. 21 days apart. It's a bit of a pain, but you have to do what you have to do. If that's the direction you're going, do it the right way. So many times, thinking about the pandemic that's going on, I've wondered, how is this going to play out? Is this COVID going to go to every corner of the globe? I've seen it go to South Pacific countries where there's very few people. I've seen it go in the far, far north of Canada, where, again, very few people. Of course, we see it where it is now. It looks like it's going everywhere. The vaccine is going to be required. Now, there's all the rumors and all these things of, you're going to have some sort of identification that shows that you've got the vaccine. It's very interesting. It's very scary. It's very intimidating. But here we are. We're in the pandemic, and there are some vaccines available on the market. It'll be really interesting to find out what you think about any of these vaccines. Are you going to take a vaccine? Are you going to avoid it? What are you going to do? And when you answer me, explain why you feel that way. It'd be really good to hear what you got to say. Thanks.